Hey everyone, Shoe Nice again. Well, basically, URL to IRL, a glimpse into internet culture. The internet can be a strange place.
My name is Elijah.
My name's Paige.
Hey, this is Tresner Resnick.
I am Josh.
Hi, my name's Destiny.
Hi, my name is FCat.
My name is Jordan.
I was requested to do this interview profile for a documentary that is supposedly to elaborate on internet culture, or as colloquially referred to as meme culture.
I'm 38, currently unemployed, and I've been using the internet since 2004.
I'm 19. I really love hair and makeup, art. I'm a very creative person.
I am 23. I have a big beard. I gotta get rid of some of that. I am a salesman.
From Florida. I now live in Maine, unemployed, going to school, doing music.
I'm 18, I identify as pansexual, I'm Wiccan, practicing Wiccan. I'm trying to go vegetarian again. I was for like 4 years and I was really stoned, and there was somebody that had beef jerky and it was like all down the fucking hill from there.
I'm 18 years old. I got 2 jobs. I recently moved out, so I work about 60 hours a week for this apartment I'm living in. I deliver pizza.
Some of the things I do, it's hobbies or whatever. I write poetry when I don't have writer's block, which is like kind of a majority of the time. I like to just like take walks, go to the beach or hike, enjoy nature, and I smoke a lot of weed, obviously. I'm currently like not working, but I've been considering cam girling or sugar babying, and I guess I've been considering it because it's easy money. Honestly, like you just get paid for looking cute, and that's pretty fucking easy. I think it's empowering, honestly. Like I don't know if it would make me more confident per se, but like I definitely think that it's empowering, and like I think it's kick-ass. Like you fucking, sometimes you don't even have to do anything sexual. Like here goes, I guess. Okay, so I've been in a relationship for like the past year and a half, and since like the first month or two we've been DDLG. What DDLG is, if you're not familiar with that, it stands for Daddy Gone Little Girl. No, it's not an incest kink. No, I don't have daddy issues. Well, I mean, I do have daddy issues, but not everybody that does this has daddy issues, okay? One person is caregiver and the other person gets taken care of like a child. But you're not a child, and that's why it's not like pedophilia or anything like that, because the awareness that you're an adult playing as a child is there. It's not actually being attracted to children, just to clarify. Because a lot of people, I just don't really like to talk about it because a lot of people just misinterpret and think that it's really creepy and not what it really is. Not that there's anything wrong with having like an incest kink, it's just I don't have one. I actually have a couple little things in front of me here to show you guys. This is a stuffed animal that I've had since I was like 8, and I love him, and he is my teddy, and this is my favorite old stuffed animal. And then this I got at an amusement park with my daddy a month ago, and his name is Nemo, and I love him. He's squishy, fishy, and he's small and fluffy.
I'm 19. I went to cosmetology school for a while, but ended up dropping out due to some issues with my anxiety. I have an anxiety disorder that's pretty severe. Even making this video right now is hard, but I was abused as a child, and around high school is when they started really coming through, I guess. I was in high school for a total of probably 2 years out of 4, and I graduated an entire year early because I ended up going to an alternative school and doing online schooling because I couldn't handle the environment of being around so many people. During high school, I had an IEP, which is like an integrated education plan for basically people with special needs or disabilities, which my anxiety disorder is actually a disability. It's recognized by the state. I don't get any disability checks or social security for it, but the agency does pay for my schooling. In high school, around 10th grade, I spent a lot of time in my room, kind of isolating myself and locking myself away from the rest of the world, and a lot of that time was definitely spent on the internet. I would say about 95%, and the other 5% was when I was sleeping. The main thing that I was using at that time was Tumblr, which kind of put me in a darker place on the internet, if you will, and encouraged a lot of self-harming behaviors, definitely, including I developed an eating disorder. I'm 19 now, and it's almost 4 years now that I've been dealing with it. Looking at me, I know you may not be able to tell, but I went from, in those months that I was in, I think 10th grade, I went from 230 pounds to 150 pounds in just maybe like 3 to 4 months. So I was starving myself for a long time, and then I started binging and purging from the food deprivation, and now I am still currently dealing with that, and it's basically that jump from 230 to 150 pounds was obviously a huge difference, not just for myself, but for how other people treated me, definitely. And this doesn't just apply to online, it applies to real life too. My junior year, I went back to school because I had actually dropped out for about a semester, and when I went back my junior year, I obviously got a pretty huge reaction from people that had known me my entire life and saw what a difference it was. But the reaction, although it was positive, it was people telling me how great I looked and all this stuff, it actually made me feel a lot worse, because it basically made me feel like, okay, well, I was fat and disgusting before, and now I'm kind of fat, and now you think I'm like attractive, but like you didn't like me before, so what's the difference? And then online, that was a major difference as well. I went from, interacting with a few people online who I trusted and knew and liked me for me because they talked to me before all of this. But I went from, using Facebook not often, but when I did, I would get maybe one message a week, to now I get probably 20 plus messages a day, and they are generally from men trying to get me to sleep with them in various different ways. Straight up, flat out asking, being really disrespectful, sexually harassing me. I have a million messages of guys that are just saying hey and what's up, and I don't think that necessarily all of them are trying to sleep with me or get with me in some way. But when I have 300 something unread messages on Facebook and then a million that I've just clicked on and never replied to, it's just like, it kind of makes you feel a certain way about yourself, because I feel like I'm a very sexually empowered person, and I'm open about that both online and real life. So that gives a lot of guys an idea that it's okay to just bombard me with all these sexual advances, including I'm bisexual, so I post a lot of, share a lot of pictures that are provocative of women. For some reason, that gives a lot of men an idea that it's okay to comment on those shared posts about what they would sexually do to that woman or me. I'm sexually attracted to the woman, but I share it because I'm admiring her and the way she looks, and it's like, it just gives them an idea that it's okay to just be disgusting, quite frankly, all the time.
I like to hang out with girlfriend and her daughter and her family and the dogs and the cats, and those are my family too. And I like writing, making beats sometimes, making graphic designs sometimes, fucking learning.
I'm obsessed with the show It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I actually just got back from a trip to Philly, which was fucking awesome. It cost me a lot of money though. I'm starting school at the University of Akron in a week. I was just watching Sunny right now, actually. I used to make music, like, mostly like ambient hip-hop beats and shit. Really shitty music, yeah. Honestly, I'd probably still be making shitty music if I had time, but I'm like working 60 hours a week. When I'm not doing that, it's always something else. And then school on top of that, I just can't really do it anymore. I also play a lot of video games. I actually make games. Another thing I did when I had free time, not really anymore so much. Not anything major, just little fuck around games. Something I was working on not too long ago. I was making like this like RPG / city management thing. Still working on that, but it's turned out pretty good so far, I think. I've been using the internet since I was like the fourth, third grade actually. I was like a little kid. Back in the day, mostly just to play flash games and shit. But you know how it goes. You start to learn about the internet and shit. Before long, like when anybody had a problem with a computer in the family, they would come to me. I'm actually majoring in computer engineering, but the internet has definitely influenced my life. You know, I'm really into like right now like vaporwave and vaporwave subculture. In the past, it definitely influenced me a lot too. It's basically the internet was my life for a long time. I normally wear like fucking glasses because like all throughout middle school I didn't have any friends or anything, so I'd just sit in front of the computer all day. I went from 2020 to like these thick ass motherfuckers. They don't look very thick, but they are. You know, I basically discovered all of the music that I listened to through the internet. I'd probably be listening to shitty mainstream shit otherwise. Like for example, most people don't like him, but I'm kind of a fan of Young Lean. Childish Gambino, shit like that. You know, basically just shit that most people don't like for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't mean to sound like a hipster or anything. I mean, like, I don't like it just because people don't like it. It's just like cool shit I found through the internet that I wouldn't have found otherwise. Okay, this is my cat. He just jumped up. His name is Charlie. I named him after Charlie from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Yeah. I wouldn't have started making music if I didn't know about the internet. If I hadn't been able to find out my own political opinions through the internet, I'd probably be like a conservative cuck like my parents. The internet kind of made me libertarian. The internet is definitely a good escape from reality. I probably would have killed myself by now without the internet. I've tried multiple times, but like, well, I guess without the internet, I probably would have like done it more. I don't know. You can't have any of this, my dude. You want some green tea? Check this shit out. He's drinking some green tea. My cat is drinking green tea right now. Look at this motherfucker. He's a fucking prodigy.
What was the first year I started using the internet? Very good question. Probably, I would say, at least at the age of 9, because when I was 8, I was already taking apart computers and putting them back together with my dad. So it was like huge influence seeing these machines being brought into the house, taken apart, you know, helping out because I was doing my little elementary school side projects and science projects, and I was just blown away. And of course, being in school, your access to all these, you know, computers and stuff, so I definitely took full advantage of it. How has the internet influenced my life? Heavily. When one of the first sci-fi books I started reading was Neuromancer by William Gibson, and just reading that opened my mind to a whole world. With the internet, I have found access to music, the rave scene, clothing, through LiveJournal, MySpace, all of that back in the day. It was great. I mean, it was just such a great influence. Without the internet growing up, I did use the basic Windows 95 AOL, but before that, it was just like some Net Zero quick hop online before that came out or something. I'm not quite sure. And I would just go online and search up whatever was on my mind, whatever documentaries or whatever things I saw on TV that I was curious about, such as music, who did who, Rob Zombie, 9 Inch Nails, Ministry, films such and such. I mean, you get the gist. Do I feel like the internet is a good escape from reality? Yes, I do. Well, I wouldn't say like a great escape. It is good for meeting people, especially if you want to get in touch with other musicians, so you don't have to hang around bars and clubs late at night and do all that stuff, and you don't even want to go down there anymore, the bars and whatever. But it's right now the internet is at its highest moment. You know, with we have all these social media outlets, Twitter, Instagram.
The year I started using the internet was probably 1998 or so, or 2000. I know the first computer I got was a 98 computer from my uncle. The internet has influenced my life pretty heavily, I'd say, because most of the people that I met from the internet. This includes like girlfriend, and this includes almost everyone on my Facebook. This includes and music. I found a lot of different music from the internet, and that's kind of where I figured out who my favorites were, and also like who inspires me today, that I've collaborated with maybe, or that I have developed my style from. So I never would have heard a lot of those people had it not been for the internet. Some of my favorite artists I found online. I don't remember the names of other artists, but I can say like musically artists. The Atmosphere. I guess I found Cage online, even though he was at a show, but then I looked him up. Tyler the Creator, Jakai the Motormouth. Those are some people. Well, my music page is okay. It's not like super interesting. It's just kind of what I do and fucking around and shit. Also had a meme page back in 2012, Rapper Pikachu, the golden era of meme pages, and I kind of got involved in that community for a while. And before everything died, before Facebook like really screwed up everything with the reach of pages, I had a fairly large page, not that big, but it was decent size, and I don't know, just kind of made it so that I could get my music out more, which it did help with that. But it also, I just ended up liking it, just liking screwing around and making dumb pictures and stupid memes and stupid fake story statuses and messing with people and all that shit. That was really fun. I had like, seemed like an army behind me at the time of some sort. I do think there will be a new wave of social media hype soon in like 5 years, because like, you know, they can only last so long until they get boring and until they get too saturated with advertising and all that shit. So I don't know, like I like Facebook in some ways because I like what's there, and I like that a lot of my fan base and friends are there, but like I don't like Facebook, you know what I'm saying?
my hobbies or interests, or you could even go as far as to say obsessions, would primarily be writing, music, art, philosophy, especially philosophical discourse, reading and playing video games and watching TV. And I suppose getting high too. Like it's always pretty radical. Now, I was asked what was the first thing I remember from using the internet, and one of the most distinct memories I had was, of course, browsing newgrounds.com, eBaum's World, and shockwave.com, which introduced me to the sort of alternative and underground animated humor, which of course naturally led me to be attracted to Adult Swim's sense of humor, the postmodern absurdity, and the meta humor, and the deconstructed and often nonsensical references often resonated because it felt comforting among a world that was constantly amid banality and confusion and decay. The internet was also where I began to access more knowledge. Primarily, I would say that for anything I learned in this public school or college setting with the internet, I possibly learned tenfold that, if not exponentially more. I was asked what's one of the craziest experiences I've had on the internet. There's a lot, but the most recent one was a girl I had a long distance relationship with, and I did acid with her, and I found out she had an Electra complex because she started murmuring, just sort of barking incoherently, like just a series of chained words. And she essentially said that her mother was speaking to her from the dead. And yeah, that was something. She thought I was shaming her for it initially, but honestly, I was just trying to process it. A lot of people take my inaction as being apathetic. I'm really just trying to understand other people, but they're usually impatient pricks.
The internet has influenced me greatly as a source of global communication. It's allowed me to get to know people from all over the world, and also it allows me to stay up to date with music, current affairs, art, with very little effort.
I also do kitten play, which is just like ears and tails. You know, I think everybody pretty much knows what that is. And then another kink that I have, like bondage and stuff, and I also am into ready play a little bit. I have been sexually assaulted before, and it's completely different for me when it's consensual. Like, it's not the same thing at all. And I understand if anybody wouldn't be into that or would think that's like weird, but everybody likes what they like. What was the first year I started to use the internet? Probably like 2011, maybe? I was like 12, I think. I don't know. I was too young. How has the internet influenced my life? It's basically influenced it in every single way, I think. Like, society is just so different as a whole. Just the way we interact with each other, the way we talk to each other, who we can talk to throughout a day, the lingo, fashion, Like, I think that, I don't even know if I would be DDLG without the internet, honestly. And it's just really changed my political view and, like, really opened my mind up to a lot of different things. What have I become more woke on? Because I said that earlier to the interviewer. I don't know, basically everything, just like how I feel about like civil rights issues and how I, like, stuff I know about politics and just like racial issues and just basically everything, LGBTQ issues, like, just basically everything. I don't really know how to explain it. It's just like comparing myself when I was 15 to like how I am now at 18, almost 19. Like, I'm just a lot different and a lot more open-minded and less judgmental and more tolerant. Has the internet given me more of a voice as a woman? Yes, absolutely. Just sharing fucking feminist memes, like, and just roasting like misogynist guys on the internet, or just, it's just, yeah, for sure, I don't know. It definitely has, and since I do use the internet as a voice for activism, for a lot of different things, feminism, humanism, anti-activism, Black Lives Matter movement, just trans rights, just everything, you know, like, just human rights, basically. I get a lot of arguing, and, I've been asked what kind of person argues with me the most, and usually it's like, I don't know, it's a mix of, like, old people, and then, like, young, conservative Trump supporters. Usually they're white. Although, I did get into a cultural appropriation argument because I wear dreads and I overline my lips, and apparently, that's only a thing in black culture, which is not, because, Irish, dreads are not just your thing. Like, please calm down. And overlining your lips is a makeup trend. That's based on genes, not based on race, what kind of lips you get. Like, cultural appropriation is a thing, but it's been way exaggerated. I'm going off topic. Anyway, yeah, mostly, like, conservative people, and usually white people. A lot of guys, like, misogynistic assholes, and then, I don't know, just stupid face slut-shaming girls. Yeah, stuff like that. How often do people get under my skin online? Too fucking often, honestly. I shouldn't let people bother me as much as I do, but whatever. And the best and worst thing about the internet, the best thing is being able to connect with people and to broaden your horizons and learn new things and just have a voice that you would not otherwise, and just, you know, really get places. You can really get places in life with the internet too, like YouTubers that get famous, like the internet, and just being able to have unlimited knowledge, like, it's just, it's a wonderful thing. The worst thing about the internet is all the fucking idiots and all the drama and videos of, like, people dying and shit and, like, just negative ass shit on the internet. Like, that's the worst thing.
I first started using the internet in probably 4th or 5th grade. That's kind of yikes to think about now, but I did have, like, a MySpace in, like, 6th grade, basically all through middle school, but before that I was just kind of browsing, like, you know, Neopets and Webkins and things like that. I really, like, I don't know, got into the internet probably in, like, high school, you know, about 9th grade, so I was probably like 14 or 15, and it's definitely influenced my life a lot. Definitely, like, fashion, music, stuff like that, obviously, like, the go-to way of sharing that and finding new music, new fashion inspiration, makeup inspiration, hair inspiration. The go-to thing is to get on the internet and look for stuff. And definitely, like, just the main website that I started kind of, like, I don't know, having an internet presence on was Tumblr, so, like, obviously that's a million pictures of a million things, and, like, inspiration happens. It's influenced definitely a lot of my views, actually my personal views as far as social issues, equality, things like that, because I've educated myself a lot more on those type of things. It's kind of definitely given me a platform to be an advocate for a lot of things that I believe in. It's also given me a place to learn about that. It's full of different safe places where I can express a lot of the issues that I've personally dealt with. And not everywhere online is that kind of a place, obviously, but I do know places that it's okay to talk about because you know somebody's going to relate to you and you're not going to get attacked for it, which happens a lot, but creepy dudes. I sadly interact with a lot of those, or I guess don't interact with, but they try to interact with me. Like I said, I get a lot of messages, especially on Facebook. That's my main platform, I guess, if you will, right now. I have, oh my god, last I checked, 4,700 and something friends, which is about 300 away from the limit of friends you're allowed to have. Whenever I first started using Facebook and then started getting attention, I guess, on there, I was basically accepting anybody's friend request. Now you have to have about, I want to say 70-ish at least mutual friends with me before I accept it. But sometimes people slip through the cracks somehow. And I've had a lot of bad experiences with that. One in particular that really stands out because it was very intense and inappropriate, and obviously the internet is real life and some people don't quite understand that, but it definitely 100% is. And there was an incident where a guy, this is when I was underage, I want to say I was 17 or 16, I had a guy on Facebook message me and actually try to solicit me for prostitution, which I immediately declined, and which, you know, there's nothing wrong with sex work, I'm totally for it, but I was obviously underage at the time, and I told him that in the message, you know, telling him no, not interested. He told me that he was 26. He basically wouldn't stop asking me, and normally in that kind of scenario I would just block him, but the fact that he knew I was underage was really gross, and like the fact that he kept insisting and trying to like offer me different things and all of that was really unsettling, considering the fact that I am very much for advocating for other women. And I went to his profile. Obviously he was local, he was from my city, which isn't all that big, and he had a lot of mutual friends with me, and they were all teenage girls, so I decided that I would call the police and file a report. And a gist of what they said, they didn't really seem to take it very seriously, but they told me to obviously block him and all that, which I did. But he tried to re-add me on multiple different accounts and occasions. I blocked every single one of them, but he continued to try. The police contacted me again almost a year later, actually, I think, and asked me to send them screenshots of the incident, and I did, and I haven't heard back from them. Actually had his girlfriend add me, and that's one of those ones that slipped through the cracks because I accepted it and I didn't know it was his girlfriend. And so he had access to my private page, which is insanely scary because although I don't put my phone number or anything like that on my Facebook, it's scary to think that somebody can see like where I am if I'm out with friends, my family, anything like that. And obviously, as soon as I realized that, I blocked her too. But a lot of people, like I said, don't realize that the internet is real life, and it's scary to be 19 and know there's somebody like walking around that knows that my name is attached to a police report that was them trying to solicit a minor for prostitution. Also, being bisexual openly leaves a door for a whole nother form of harassment. I have dated people, girls, who have stalked me and harassed me, and not just them, but also have had their current girlfriends or friends threaten me physically, things like that. And one relationship in particular was extremely, extremely emotionally abusive and physically sometimes. And she just recently, within the last 2 months, made a fake profile to try to talk to me again. She tries to contact me on multiple platforms. It was daily, weekly for a while, but slowed down, and now it's every couple of months if I'm lucky. The fact that she is using the internet to constantly try to contact me and harass me, definitely her thinking that it's a safe place for her to do that, because I've seen her in person, and when I see her in person, she immediately turns away and she tells me that I made her have a panic attack by existing. Same with guys harassing me and saying totally off the wall inappropriate things. I don't think that many of them would do that in person. While this is all negative stuff that has to do with the internet, I would definitely and will continue to use it as much as I do. I don't know. It's a good invention. I would never get rid of it.
For me personally, it doesn't really provide a good escape from reality. I'm more of a head-on person, so if I have problems in my life, I tend to just try to resolve them, but I could see how others would use it as a means of escape. And like I said before, the best thing about the internet is just staying connected globally with very little effort. I consider myself an introvert, so it's something that would be virtually impossible to do if I didn't have this tool. And the worst thing about the internet, I would say, are predators and self-exploitation.
The best thing about the internet, I think, it's definitely either a tie between the freedom of information and the ability to, in the vast social capabilities of the internet, the ability to meet people through there, to learn things you didn't know before, that you wouldn't be able to know otherwise. I think it's incredible. The worst thing about the internet, maybe it's the same thing. I don't know. That's a tough question. The worst thing about the internet, probably it's either the same thing. It's the ability to know shit you didn't know before, because some of that shit you just don't want to know or need to know. It's just fucking crazy. Because I've definitely learned some things about myself through the internet that I kind of wish I had. I guess, like, I'm not sure I believe in this, but, like, apparently people get tracked, the government's ability to abuse the internet and go beyond our freedom of speech and shit to invade our personal lives. I'm not saying I believe they do that, but the internet is definitely a tool through which they could do that if they wanted to, and it's very possible that they are. I'm not sure that they are. Definitely some governments are. I don't know about our government, in my case the US government, but it's definitely not a good thing.
And finally, I was asked what's good and bad about the internet. To speak from truth, I don't perceive good and bad. I only see a spectrum, a wheel, a lattice work of all the circumstances and devastation and absurdities that somehow all link us up together to something that is totally incomprehensible and probably means nothing in the scheme of how tiny we are.
Real, the worst thing about the internet, do not by all means go on the dark deep web. If you do your internet research, and then if you want to roll the dice, roll the dice.
The best thing and worst thing about the internet would be, I think the best thing is that there's just so much to find. Like, it's just unlimited. There's always more things to be able to find and explore. The worst thing could possibly be, well, not bad. The worst thing might be just the lack of anonymity. Am I saying this right? Anyway, you can't be anonymous very easily. Like, you can put proxies and all that stuff if you really want to go out of your way, but still, you could be tracked if you're not super good. Anyway, and, you know, I hate the whole idea of everybody supposed to use their real names and everything, and let us know all about you before we see you, and let me just know your name, and now I can look you up on Facebook, and blah blah blah, and I think that shit's super creepy, and it's not all just in the form of that, but, you know, think about that, think about GPS tracking, and how many apps use that, and how many apps want your contacts, and that's all the internet, so I don't know, I think just it's creepy, and it's shitty that it's so, I don't know, kind of hard to actually be anonymous and just do your thing. I mean, hell, I mean, the service provider you use knows what websites you go to and knows what you do, and it's weird. But I guess I wouldn't be the same without the internet, so how much can I really complain?
Tell you that I love you, I can tell you lots of lies. Explore between your legs and I can get lost in your eyes. We can drink a little wine, just a little bump and grind. You can give a little head and I can blow your fucking mind. You can get lost in the sauce, I'ma nail you like a cross. You can even charge me for it, I don't care the fucking cost. You can be the boss with the glitter and gloss, but when you get me hard, my dick is fat like Ricky Ross. I'm from Mars and you're from Venus. With that brain you are a genius. When I hit you with the penis, have you singing like Selena. You were born to swallow semen. You're an angel, I'm a demon. You can be my little Twinkie, I'm about to put the cream in. Got me scheming for a reason. Wanna hear some heavy breathing. I'm a junkie and I'm fiending. I just wanna hear you screaming with the squeezing and the teasing. Have you begging me please and make you hear the voice of God in this bed. Morgan Freeman.
Give me high, be your ass, suck my balls, move me fast. Give me high, feel my chest, taste my cum, live for this.
I look at you and think of sex. I put my hands around your neck. I wanna get you something wet. What I plan on doing next is make you sweat like a sauna. Cousin trauma, find Nirvana, choke you with my anaconda. And I'm sorry, little mama, but we gonna get it poppin' when them panties finally drop it. Cause I'm gonna beat it up like Iron Mike, we call it boxing. So I'm plotting, I can't stop it, it's become an obsession. But the shit is far from over, this is just the inception. Ain't no question my aggression's manifesting in the sheets. 50 shades darker, you not breathing's my release. I'm a monster, I'm a beast, while I'm playing Marvin Cease. Now you're screaming bloody murder, make the neighbors call police. Edge play with shot collars, you ain't leaving me no more. You're my lover, you're my princess, nothing but a filthy whore. Very soon you'll be a corpse, blood is pouring on the floor. Now I paint my body with it like a symbol of war.
Give me high, be my ass, suck my balls, move me fast. Give me high, feel my chest, taste my cum, live for less.
Okay, so after the fact of recording my first part of the interview, actually the very next morning, something very uncomfortable and odd happened. I was asleep and my mom woke me up to tell me that somebody had called her phone, a friend from school, as he said, and had requested to talk to me, and she didn't know who he was. She thought that it was possibly a friend from middle school that had her number, because there's no reason any of my friends would have her number like that. And so she took down his name and his phone number so that I could contact him again. And then whenever I woke up, she told me about it. And I had never heard of his name in my life. I got on Facebook and searched his number because she actually wrote his last name down wrong, and found who it was. It turns out that he attended my high school. He wasn't my Facebook friend. I have 2 Facebook accounts. One's for it's private for family friends and stuff. He wasn't my friend on that. On my main account, he wasn't my friend. I've never seen him in my life. I've never seen him at my school when I was in high school. I don't think I've ever heard of him at all. I've never heard his name. Which leads me to believe that since me and my mom are on a family plan, he somehow looked up my name and her number came up. And so that's kind of actually changed my views from what I first initially had said that they were. I have since taken my last name off of Facebook. I've taken all of my family members listed off my profile. I've changed from what city I live in to a bigger city that's across the bridge. Like, I took off what high school I went to. I don't plan on sharing any sort of information that can lead somebody to find out who me or my family members are, because that was extremely invasive and scary. And I ended up calling the guy back, and whenever he answered, I called him, and he answered because I assume, doesn't know my number because he had to have found it online. That's the only explanation I have. And I asked him who it was, and he was obviously like, "Oh, who is this? You called me." So I said, "This is Destiny. Why the fuck did you call my mom, and how did you get her number?" And he immediately started talking a lot quieter, fumbling with his words. And he said that basically I have the wrong number. I must have the wrong number, and hung up on me. I called him back twice after that. The first time he just let it ring, and then the second time he sent it straight to voicemail. So that was extremely unsettling and uncomfortable, and has definitely changed some things. I don't think that I should or will ever share my full name on the internet again, which is wild because I feel like a normal person, and I don't feel like I should have to go to that sort of extent in order to keep myself or my family safe, because if he can access my mom's cell phone number and he lives in my city, like, that's scary because that means he can access my address and things like that with that phone number. So that's extremely concerning. So I definitely don't ever plan on sharing my entire name online again, and I guess that's the cost of being popular on the internet. I didn't ask for any of this, though, and it's not fair at all. But I guess I'll just be more careful from here on out. I don't really have any other options. So